And after this session, we'll come into the maybe most interesting part, that is the panel discussion. And based on our NC colleagues' well design, this panel discussion will be channeled with two guiding questions. And we would like to discuss it one by one, if you like. For each question, we have same group of the panelists, which include 4 panelists. And we have 6 commentators. So 4 panelists and 6 commentators for each questions. For the time control, I'm so sorry to inform you, each panelist have 5 minutes, and each commentator has 3 minutes for each question. I will be appreciate and according to reminding from Secretariat, if you could consider the time wisely. So if we could start from the first guiding question as we shared before the meeting. The first guiding question is that air pollution issues are differed from country to country and differed from time to time. Taking the latest trend of your country into account, what do you think are the most significant challenges, such as targeted substances and special coverage for the EANET in improving atmospheric environment in 5 to 10 years ahead? Sorry, it's a little bit long question, but you could see it from our sharing website before the meeting, also in the emails. So for the first guiding question, we'd like to start from the panelist. The first panelist we'd like to invite is Dr. Toshimasa Ohara. Ohara-sensei is a research director at the Center for Environment Science in Saitama CESS. His research fields are emission inventory development and chemical transport modeling of air pollutants at the urban and regional scales in Japan and East Asia. Currently, he is the chairperson of Air, Noise, and Vibration Committee of the Central Environment Council of MOEJ. And he contributes to the linkage of science and policy in the field of atmospheric environment in Japan. As you may know, he is also a SEC member of EANET even since 2012. So, Dr. Ohara, please start your 5 minutes panelist discussion for the first guiding question. Ohara-sensei, please.
Okay, thank you for kind introduction. I would like to try to answer the first question. I think most important substances is ozone and PM2.5, especially secondary fine particles. These substances gave huge impact to human health in East Asia. According to the PR34, the annual mortality attributable to PM2.5 and ozone in EANET region is around 2 million. Also, 3 speakers in introduction sessions said the ozone is commonly increasing in Korea, Japan, and maybe China. So both ozone and secondary PM2.5 are typical secondary pollutants produced by chemical reaction in the air. Secondary air pollutants have following features. First, the formation mechanism is too complicated and its control is so difficult. In the case of the primary air pollution, such as NOx, SO2, and CO in local scale, the basic relationship between emission amount and its ambient concentration is linear, which means if emissions are reduced by half, ambient concentration becomes by almost half. On the other hand, in the case of secondary pollutants, the relationship is nonlinear, which means if emissions of precursors are reduced by half, ambient concentrations of secondary pollutants are not reduced by half due to the complicated chemical reaction system in atmosphere. And second, the lifetime of secondary pollutant is longer, keeping days for ozone and particulate matter in the boundary layer. This means these substances are long-range transported cross-border and can occur the transboundary pollution as mentioned by Dr. Akimoto. Hence, regarding to spatial coverage, the multi-scale from urban to regional scales is a significant viewpoint for EANET. So one atmosphere is an important word, I think. To summarize, secondary air pollutants such as ozone and PM2.5 in multi-scale from urban to regional scales have high priority for the EANET in improving atmospheric environment. In this context, VOCs, volatile organic compounds, play a key role as common precursors of ozone and SOA, secondary organic aerosols. The term VOCs is used to denote set of vapor phase atmospheric organics. The variety of organic compounds were identified in the atmosphere. In EANET region, VOCs monitoring are extremely limited, other than urban areas in developed countries such as Korea, China, and Japan, and hence the present situation of VOCs is not clear. So it's important to clarify the ambient level and compositions of VOCs and their emission sources and atmospheric behavior to establish effective control strategies for secondary air pollutants. VOCs are just newly added into EANET target substances. The development of monitoring system as well as capacity building for monitoring and data analysis should be strengthened in the EANET framework in the coming years. I hope the starting up of new projects on VOC are introduced in introduction sessions will be successful. That end, thank you for attention.
Thank you so much, Ohara Sensei, for you can starting for our panel discussions. And we would like to invite our second panelist, who is Dr. Taehyoung Lee from Korea. And Dr. Lee is the professor of Department of Environmental Science of HANKUK University of Foreign Studies in ROK. And Professor Lee has published around 100 domestic and international academic papers. In 2016, Professor Lee participated as lead researcher in the NASA COROS/AQ, the Korea United States Air Quality Project. And currently, he is working on advanced research to focus mostly on the field of air quality, narrowing down to topics related to aerosol chemistry, as well as the formation of aerosol using real-time advanced instruments on various domestic platforms. He is also our SEC member of the EANET. So Dr. Lee, please take your 5 minutes panelist time. It's your floor. Thank you.
I'm very afraid of my answer is shorter than the introduction for you. The first question I just read over and over, but it's hard to catch up what you're asking. So I think it's the main point is the most significant challenge. What of substance you measure, and then for next 10 or 5-10 years ahead for the atmospheric environment. Is that correct? I mean, for my country, if they say that taking the last trend, you're the country into the account. So it's for the Korea. Is that for the Korea case? Is that correct?
Dr. Lee, thank you so much. I'm so sorry we designed a very long question. I'm not so sure. I guess you could answer the question from your expertise and professional experiences, either from Korea national or local level, or share some of your thoughts in this region as you wish from your professional background. So
Okay,
please take your time.
So based on the three speakers, the first section one, I think is it seems like a PM 2.5 has been to take care by the country, but one of the substance for the atmospheric environment, the ozone has been the increase most of the country, including my country. So that is related to some of the VOC and NOx emission too. So I think it's most significant challenge to important substance we have to measure. That is the ozone and also the VOC. The most accurate VOC, the inventory and ambient status. That is the most important things you have to measure. And after that, so we can build up our own country, and each of the country has the ozone strategy for the policy for the next 5 or 10 years, I guess. So I think that is my opinion. I mean, yep.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I guess you share the similar concerns from many of the scientists in the EANET family as well. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for your sharing. Yeah, okay. So if we don't have any quick question, we would like to introduce our third panelist, Dr. Cao. Dr. Cao is the director of the Center for Environmental Research of the Vietnam Institute of Meteorology, Hydrology, and Climate Change. So sorry, very important institute for, and it belongs to the Ministry of Natural Resources and the Environment of Vietnam. As you may all know, Dr. Cao contributed a lot of efforts and time for the EANET, as he is both the national focal point of EANET as well as SEC member of EANET. So, Dr. Cao, please take the floor for the first guiding question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Dong, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the Network Center and ARCAP very much for organizing this workshop. I think this is a very important workshop considering the important time for EANET community that we are considering the expansion of scope and how to strengthen our collaboration. So I would like to have some very few points from both the national perspective and the EANET perspective regarding the challenge of EANET for both the substance and the spatial coverage. First, for the substance, we think that we need, as regarded in relation to the expansion of the scope of EANET, we think that the coverage of the monitoring of the particulate matter, especially the PM 2.5 and ozone, is very important for EANET now, and both for our national level. And in Vietnam now, we are now also running a PM 2.5 monitoring station. And just a very quick introduction to you that in Vietnam, the National Assembly already enacted the new law on environmental protection. And with the new law, it just requires that the city level and the national level should prepare the air quality AQM. So with that one, we think that the expansion of the monitoring network and also the data sharing is very important. So that is for the challenge for the substance. And for the coverage, we think that in Vietnam now we are currently running 7 monitoring stations under EANET framework. So since the coverage is, of course, is not enough, far from enough. So we think that the expansion of the spatial coverage of the monitoring station is very important to have the to develop the inventory first, and then we develop the air quality mapping, and based on that we prepare the national and city level air quality monitoring, air quality management plan. So that is my my point for the first question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kao. As you may know that Dr. Kao served as the SEC chair as well in the past, so I'm sure his comments and also his sharing opinion will be a good contribution for our later discussions. And during Dr. Kao is sharing his opinion, we have the first two questions came into the Q&A. So the NC would like to encourage participants to share your questions to Dr. Kao and other panelists through Q&A before the discussion session as well. Thank you, Dr. Kao, again. So we would like to invite our fourth panelist, Ms. Dan Espita-Casanova. Ms. Casanova is our special distinguished guest. She worked as a program manager of Clean Air Asia. Ms. Dan oversees program development and strategic planning for Clean Air Asia's impact initiatives on transport, energy, and urban air quality. She leads a team of specialists and researchers in the development of Clean Air Asia's key knowledge products, tools, and capacity building activities. So, Ms. Dan, please follow your time within 5 minutes with the first guiding question. It's your floor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Dong. And indeed, I am very much privileged and honored to be in the midst of highly respected scientists in the field of air quality monitoring and management. So from my perspective and for my contribution to the first question, I am gleaning this from our experience as a regional air quality initiative. Of course, based on our regional work and interface and interactions with government and non-government actors in the region. And we think that there are indeed challenges, but also opportunities in improving air quality monitoring initiatives in the region. So first, I think this also builds on what our scientists previously pointed out in their presentations, that we could further strengthen the number or increase the number of air quality monitoring stations to match population densities within the region. We have, of course, observed that populations, especially urban populations, have increased in the previous 5 years or so, and that air quality networks should be able to keep up with the demand for information and data on how individuals could avoid the risks of exposure to air pollution impacts, as well as, of course, inform our governments of the programs and initiatives that are necessary to protect public health and, of course, everybody's right to breathe clean air. And in relation to this, I think that partnerships among organizations with the same objective of providing high quality information and data to the public and to decision makers should be of prime importance. I think another challenge that I wanted to raise is, of course, the need to balance the need for expansion of spatial coverage of air quality monitoring, of course, in high resolution or high resolution enough to provide informative data to the users of air quality information. So we know that air quality, of course, varies very significantly, especially in urban locations. And so in as much as possible, we want to provide high density, high quality data to the users. So in this regard, and we have had discussions with stakeholders such as policymakers, academia, and also practitioners in air quality management, that it is also about time to review the use of, and of course, practicality of the use of hybrid air quality monitoring networks, including, of course, the use of low-cost data in tandem with satellite data that would provide us with the information that we need for the specific air quality monitoring objectives we desire. And I think more on the capacity building work, we also noted that there remains to be limited or sporadic technical and management capacities for air quality monitoring. And we wanted to espouse and encourage partnerships and collaborations between government and non-government actors such as the academia to sustain air quality training systems such as a hub and spoke model to be able to provide the necessary training to the dedicated personnel for air quality monitoring. And lastly, if I may, we wanted also to emphasize that ensuring institutional leadership and support for air quality monitoring initiatives is very important. And this, of course, transcends from institutionalizing cleaner action plans, and within those cleaner action plans are sustainable air quality monitoring plans, and of course, dedicating or mainstreaming budgets and resources to sustain air quality monitoring networks in annual investment plans of governments. So I hope those points are useful, and thank you.
So next, we will move to the open discussions, and we today invited 7 commentators, but unfortunately, the 5th one is not shown for the moment, and we can start our commentator discussion from the first and wait for the 5th. But if this engineer Jundy is still no show, we have to skip this person. Oh, fortunately, we can catch it. Okay, it's glad to see your face, Engineer Judy. So now we have 7 commentators on board. So we'd like to invite the first commentator, Mr. Mohan Kumar Sammathuria, who is the Principal Assistant Director of the Atmospheric Sciences and the Cloud Seeding Division from Malaysian Meteorological Department of Ministry of Environment and Water in Malaysia. He is the chair of the SAC meeting since 2021. Is a very important bureau members for SAC. So, Mr. Mohan, please start your 3 minutes commenting for the first guiding questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone. So with regard to the first question, and taking it from the Malaysian perspective, looking at the data from what we have observed in Malaysia, we actually have here 2 very distinct scenarios here. One, you have for the more urbanized, from the semi-urbanized to the urbanized part of Malaysia, which is West Malaysia, we have noticed a significant, a definite drop in pH for acid deposition. And when we go to East Malaysia, what we notice is actually there is a slight increase. And when we take specifically the Global Atmospheric Watch Station measurements at the Danum Valley Station, which is on the northeast of Borneo, we also get a subsequent decrease in pH. And of course, we can relate all this to our nitrate and our sulfate measurements that we carry out using our acid deposition monitoring network. Now, how do we actually explain this? Is actually the West Malaysia being already either generally from semi-urbanized to actually being urbanized. The technological application with regard to industries and transport has already improved over time. So with this regard, what we would have expected is actually less amount of pollutants coming out from the industrial sector, transport sector, and socio-economic sector to the environment. Now we also see this with the corresponding drop in nitrate and sulfate over time. So therefore, that is one scenario with regard to West Malaysia. Now, with regard to the GAW station measurements, what we notice is, what we think is that because the GAW station there actually receives a contribution of air pollutants based on observations from the Northern Hemisphere. Now, what we feel is that there's probably an improvement with regard to the technology now being used in East Asian countries, especially in the Northern Hemisphere. So that has resulted in probably an improvement with regard to acidity in the rainfall, with regard to the GAW station. Now with East Malaysia, generally what is happening now is that it's moving from a rural background to a semi-urbanized background. And so that when we're looking at the application of technology here, we don't expect the new technologies to be immediately implemented here. And many of these locations actually there is also cold base. That means the power, although there's hydroelectric power and all that and gas, but it's still immensely cold base. So which is why we actually get an increasing acidity over time. So putting into all this, we feel that this is where now the EANET platform, with its role to actually, with the existing measuring platform, and also as it involves many of the East Asian states, it will allow for potential discussions actually potential discussions with other member states who have actually gone through such situations, and therefore actually, how do we actually handle the situations better. Second, EANET in its ability to work together with international organizations will allow for member states to actually gain crucial understanding, such as actually efficient monitoring frameworks, importance of human capacity in actually modeling of air pollution, and the various subsequent planning policy involved in policies, and thereafter actually policies even regard to measuring of the effects of this once you undertake a particular policies with regard to air pollution mitigation, now there are effects. So how do you actually measure all this? So even these sort of these sort of strategies needs to be undertaken. I think, thank you. That'll be all from me.
Thank you, Mr. Mohan, for your very valuable insights. And after you serve as the chair of SAC meeting since last year, I thought you have engaged a lot of good thoughts for enlightening us for a continuous discussion on the challenges and the points you've shared, including the best available technologies and also the policy designs in the region. I thought could for sure set the discussion basis for our next stage. Thank you so much. And the next commentator we'd like to invite is Dr. Ngoc Sothea, Vice Dean of Faculty of Science, Royal University of Phnom Penh in Cambodia. Dr. Ngoc, please.
Yeah, thank you and good afternoon, everyone. So yes, regarding to this question, I would like to draw some comment on this. So if you look at in Cambodia, I think we have progressed very well in the past 5 years. So since that we have no any, I would say the monitoring activity, and then we start to have installed, I would say, quite a number of the center across the province that to generate the air quality data. And then I think, yes, and then in consideration of the pollutant, I think Cambodia have, I would say, consider PM2.5 is one of the pollutant, and we have, I think the government is working on the revision of the sub-degree, including the PM2.5 in the, I would say, in the lower sub-degree of the Cambodia. So I think this is very important that we start from nothing and then we progress to at some point in terms of the generating the air quality data. But somehow I think it's still a big challenge to cover the whole, I would say, cover the whole across the country in the good quality control of the data, that we could assure that the data generated from the center that we employ are good enough to use for the policy recommendation or policy development also, I mean, like, or to do a better assessment. And then what we are missing, that we could not trace back what are the source of the pollutant that really affect on the air quality in the city, and also lacking of the, I would say, the study on the effect of the how the air pollution or the acid depository affect on the agriculture or affect on the other environment or even human health. So I think, yeah, for the next 5 years to 10 years, I would say the source of pollution is increasing, and we expect then the air quality would be getting was, and then that we need some more action and also contribution from all the regional partners to help us. I would say we are lacking of many things in Cambodia, not only infrastructure, but also the technical capacity in terms of the doing sampling analysis and interpretation. So I would say that is a big miss for Cambodia that we need your support. Yeah, that's all I would say. I would like to say this now.
Thank you, Dr. Kok. I thought you share very key points of the Cambodia's concerns in the next 5 to 10 years. And our colleagues in the NC will take the memo on the points you shared, including point PM 2.5 and the QA, and also the sources, capacity buildings. So at the same time, so please also check the project list in this year and next year, just shared by Dr. Meihua Chu. If you have any interested project to join for the future 2 years related to your concerns in Cambodia, please also contact NC as well. Thank you so much. And I would like to invite the third commentator, Ms. Witt Isu, Assistant Director, Department of Meteorology and Hydrology from Myanmar. Ms. Witt, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Dong. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Witt Isu. I am an Assistant Director from Department of Meteorology and Hydrology from Myanmar. So I'm sorry not running the video is because of the internet connection. So our department is monitoring air quality at Yangon Kabai EANET station in March 2018. It is too late compared to other countries to monitor the air quality. Yeah. We, from 2018 to present date, air quality of this station is generally good in monsoon season and good to moderate in other monsoon season. The annual average concentration is for each year is 25 microgram per cubic meter. So this is higher than the WHO standard annual average concentration. So we have to emphasize more on air quality monitoring for our people. But now we are facing the constraints such as lack of human resource, lack of technology, lack of awareness, and some budget constraints, and so on. So in my country, we have only one PM 2.5 monitoring station under my department. So we need to increase the air quality monitoring station with the financial support from EANET. So in terms of air quality monitoring, the PM 2.5 monitoring is more significant in substance. Based on the 3 presentations from the first session, the air pollution is increasing, including in my country also. So now we are expanding the increasing air quality monitoring station. We already know that EANET scope of work is now expanding in air quality monitoring. So we are hoping to get this increase in the station in my country also. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Soy, for sharing the biggest concerns and challenges in Myanmar, including PM 2.5 and monitoring capacity buildings. And we will memorize these challenges. And please also check project list for your interest. And for the fourth commentator, we'd like to invite Engineer Jundy T. Socorro, who is the Supervising Environmental Management Specialist from the Air Quality Management section. This section belongs to Environment Quality Management Division of Environmental Management Bureau in the Philippines. He is also a SEC member of the EANET. So I'm glad you can catch our session. Please.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning to all of you. Well, the most significant challenge in substances for the Philippines is we have problems in stationary sources, in the air sources, but most especially the mobile sources or the motor vehicle. It's the rapid urbanization in highly urbanized cities and the lack of infrastructure for mass railways, thereby increasing the demand for motorized means of transportation. And these are causing a lot of traffic jams, and this contributes to the problems in air pollution, especially as a developing country. We have some delayed on the modernization of our public utility vehicles. But right now, there are massive build projects for transportations, but for tunnels and for trains, but it's still on the way. That's why we are still experiencing a lot of problems in terms of PM10 and PM2.5, which is are closely related to exhaust from motor vehicles. And at the same time, from recent studies, there are also issues with regards to NOx and the photochemical ozone, and also on research that we have also have some issues from polyaromatic hydrocarbons and volatile organic compounds, both from stationary and motor vehicles. And right now, we have 109 manual air quality network composed of continuous and manual monitoring. And in our present regulation, we are required to follow US EPA reference and equivalent methods, meaning we are always at the mercy of the expensive maintenance cost of this imported air quality monitoring equipments and stations. And there are limited suppliers, and it's too expensive. That's why also expanding the network is also a problem. I think it will be continue. Will also continue this. This will contribute to our problems for the next 5 to 10 years. And in the developing of more air quality guideline values, right now we are in the process of additional hazardous ambient air pollutants guideline values from heavy metals, VOC, PAH, and black carbon. And this will require a lot of monitoring stations, and our monitoring stations are getting old and it's very expensive. So those are some of the current problems that we are probably challenges ahead of 5 to 10 years related to our functions as government in formulating standards and getting solutions, to address air pollution. We all want science-based, data based on data, if we recommend some solutions. With regards to our takeaway for the partnership with the national and city levels, well, we have these devolution plans wherein the national government has this specific task to be devolved to the local government units or the city levels. And I think there will be co-benefit, especially on monitoring different sources for air pollutants from industrial to motor vehicles. And at the same time, probably in the near future, we could consider also the evolution of air quality monitoring to the city levels, because right now, there are only few cities that has their air quality monitoring. And as mentioned, we are always at the mercy of this expensive US EPA reference method. That's why I think it's probably time that we will be accepting, or we will reviewing these low-cost sensors, so we won't be always relying on US EPA reference methods. I think that would be our that's all for our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us the key concerns, both from national level and also from the city level. I guess we will have some project related to the city level and also the low-cost centers. And I thought please also keep continue communicating with the NC colleagues as in the past from you and your colleagues for the next step of the project kind of a discussion. Next commentator, we'd like to invite Dr. Glomov. Dr. Glomov is an old friend who used to work with the NC as the Deputy Director General of the Network Center of the EANET. And as a Deputy Director of the Institute of Global Climate and Ecology in Russia, he is a national focal point of Russia as well as a SEC member of EANET. He used to work in the SEC Bureau for a long time and contributed a lot of good thoughts for us. Dr. Glomov, we are expecting you sharing opinions in this guiding question, please.
Thank you, Ms. Yao. Good afternoon for everyone. And I want to say some words concerning the not only national activities, but practically for my viewing of experience and experience in EANET and experience in national networks. So first of all, you may understand that according to the most of the former Soviet Republic, we have a different system of the city pollution, city air quality, and regional. Practically, EANET we consider like a regional pollution, and it's mostly addressed for environmental impact and transboundary impact. And practically, we also use scientific research for effect of the huge megapolis urban pollution to the surrounding territory, but not trying to improve the air quality in city, because exactly speaking, this is a responsibility mostly for medical scientists, for scientists who working with harmful effect on the human, but not for environmental media, as we consider it like a natural environment. In this case, my talk or my comments could be for 3 points. 2 of them it's mostly connected with sentences said by Dr. Ohara. One of them, we are interested in for extension of the target methods for monitoring. And even the people mostly think about the harmful pollution. We mostly think about the effect of the climate change, because for our countries, for North and East, maybe climate change becomes one of the issue which promotes the extension of the new pollutant or new effect of the pollutant from the another latitudes. For example, we suppose that the southern part of the Siberia and Far East could be affected by ozone and also PM 2.5 due to the changes of climate and practically climate effects like heating waves and the meridional flows from our state. In this connection, we are interested to investigate the new, or not new, but these another substances together with EANET and looking for the progress of the EANET for our territory. But this is mostly also connected to the transboundary pollution, which became one of the important things for the territory, which are not so well industrialized, which are not so well in industry and promotion of the heavy industry in our country. So in this case, transboundary could be one of the main point of the investigation of the air pollutant, even for EANET. Second, but in this case, we are not so sure that we should forget the experience of the previous years, or also like experience of the EMAP, which is still working in the main pollutants also. Second point, this is a measurements. Measurements for our territory is also affected by the sizes of the extension of the territory. In this case, the density of the sites could be a problem for us, not only for measurement grid by grid, but also for the supporting of the measurement in the sites due to the long distance, accessibility of promotion of air quality in this place of the measurement or place of this sampling. In this case, we also think that low cost sensors could be one of the improving possibility, but it also should be solved many problem with 0 point of the low costers and the ability for this data due to the shifting of the changes of this one. In that time, we are looking or just expecting receiving from the so-called, how to say, I know the Russian names, but okay, that's popular network or population network, which trying to make some their own measurement by low-cost sensors on the private matter and try to exchange this data. We are make a discussion with them about the reliability of such data. Second possibility is space sounding for the many pollutants which have a regional effects like ozone, even the PM 2.5 and nitrogen oxides, nitrogen compounds. It's one of the interesting things because the amount of the data for space or remote scientists, remote sensing grown up so quickly, and we may receive not only the raw measurement data, but already prepare the data after the expertise of the specialists in these fields, and we looks like one of the end users of this data. And finally, it's one for in this second point. Perhaps it's one of the interesting things which try to developed by WMO, like a fusion of the measurement and modeling, which also promote us to make a looks like real-time monitoring and real-time assessment of the extension with help of the well-developed models and supported by measurements from our networks. And maybe the third point of my things on this one, it's a kind of worry, because I don't like the anthropogenic point of anthropocentric point of view of scientists who work in EANET from time to time. Because exactly speaking, the regional network concern the environment. And environment, it's not equal the human. Environment, it's a nature. Environmental changes without our, with maybe our impact, effects, or help, but they are not respond us correctly on the effects. We should find these effects. So in this case, I just want maybe appreciate for many countries that EANET became so the driver for the urban pollution and the improving urban pollution capacities. But we should keep the goal of the invest of the air pollutant, air pollution effects on the natural environment out of the urban margins. So in this case, I appreciate the work of the network center and some country who try to find the effects, for example, for the watersheds and for changing of the other target media, which affected by human through the air pollution. So this is my view for this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Glomov. I'm so sorry that because of the limitation of time, we cannot make further discussion on many valuable points you have just shared. But I'm sure that we can make sure to memorize your points. I thought we are after expansion. We are discussing many key points related to asset position and related to other areas, including climate. And please continue to be supportive, contribute to the scientific community discussion in the next stage. And for the capacity building points you've shared, we also memorize them for the local sensors and also PM 2.5 ozones and the nitrogens. Thank you so much for your sharing. So we would like to invite the last but not least, the last commentator, Dr. Hattai Ratana. Dr. Hattai Ratana, sorry for my pronunciation, is a former senior specialist of environmental technology research and development in the Environmental Research and Training Center, ERTC, in Thailand. She is also a SEC member of EANET. So please take the floor. Thank you so much.
So, good afternoon, and thank you very much for the introduction. So first of all, I would like to express my deep appreciation to EANET and the MOEJ to organize this workshop. And I am pleased to participate in this workshop and share the experience from Thailand. So regarding to answer the guiding question number one, I would like to share that Thailand air quality monitoring has developed since 1975, and along the way we have improved and add more pollutants as appropriate to the pollution situation in our country. Up to now, we have already 87 air quality monitoring stations cover 56 provinces out of 77 provinces. So, and we have also the policy in the future that we will expand the air quality monitoring station to every provinces by 2024. So in this case, from the result of the monitoring, so the significant challenge to control the air quality is for PM 2.5, VOCs, and the ozone in Thailand. So especially for PM 2.5, because the government decided to reduce the ambient standard of PM 2.5 to 37.5 microgram per cubic meter by June next year. So now we use the standard of 50 microgram per cubic meters. So however, the air quality monitoring station, the total is 87, is unfortunately is owned by the national levels. So this is because we have gaps between national levels and the city levels, which I will answer for the guiding question number 2, okay? So from the result of the monitoring, we know that we have PM2.5, VOCs, and ozone. But in other ways, we also have challenge from the public part, especially the NGOs. They're very much concerned about PM2.5, mercury, and the PAH. So this pollutant will be our challenge in the future, in which some of them are in line with the EANET activities, where we can learn and share the information with EANET in the future. I think that this is very important because I am very pleased to hear the presentation this morning, and we found that okay, in the future, our challenge in the future will be have the EANET as the consulting organization. So we also would like to strengthen our capacity on the emission inventory based on the accurate activity data and the emission factors, as well as the monitoring validation to support our policy implementation in our country as well. So this is our interest in the country, and I would like to share and answer the guiding question as it is. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your sharing. And as Thailand is a long-lasting cooperation partnerships with ACAP and the NC, we are very happy to hear you share the most challenged concerns in the recent and medium to long-term future within 10 years. And please keep continuing. Take a look at our project list for your review for the future 1 or 2 years. And thank you for wrapping up the last commentating. And if you allow, we could just continue for the discussion of the second guiding question. And after the round of the second guiding question, we go back to the discussion. At the same time, we receive 2 questions for the NC from Q&A and 1 anonymous questions for the panelist. So our colleagues from the NC already copied the 2 questions for NC and answers in the chat box. The anonymous new question is for panelists. So please also take a look in the chat box. We would like to invite answers during discussion session. So if you allow us to proceed on the panel discussion for the second guiding question. The second guiding question is that international cooperation is critical from national to city level in dealing with the regional air pollution issue. But what is the pros and cons of the linkages between national level and city level cooperation? And what are the key points optimize the co-benefit for regional or city level air quality in terms of monitoring system, its solutions, and prioritize actions? So sorry, the second guiding question is also a little bit long, but I'm sure our panelists and commentators already read through them. And I apologize, due to the time constraint, we have to finish the meeting within the schedule. So our colleagues from the NC Secretariat make the suggestion we shorten the panelist and commentator for each. Their suggestion is that each panelist express your opinion within 3 minutes, and each commentator share your opinions within 2 minutes. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience. Please highlight your points. So we'd like to start the 3 minutes panelists sharing opinions, starting from Dr. Ohara. Ohara Sensei, please.
Okay. I'd like to answer the second question. International cooperations of city level, as well as its linkage with national level cooperation, is very important in EANET region, of course. I'm currently working at the local research institute in Japan. Speaking from my experience, the local government and research organizations of city level have a strong mind faced to the local issue and field works related to monitoring to urban air pollution. This field-based experience and knowledge in the city level should be shared by many cities in EANET regions. It's expected EANET takes an important role of network for sharing local information on science and policy in East Asia. And an example, let's consider the city level project on VOC introduced in the first session. Regarding to ozone, its formation is determined by the balance of reactive VOC and other precursor NOx to reduce the urban ozone pollution. The following 2 points are important. First point is to clarify which VOC species have higher potential in ozone formation by VOC's monitoring. And the second point is to develop the emission control strategy for ozone reduction by modeling. This means we try to answer the key question, how much of VOC and or NOx need to be reduced for attainment of target level of ambient ozone. Therefore, the sense of science-based policy making is key point in secondary air pollution mitigation. Based on this point, I think the VOC project in urban areas consists of 3 steps. First step is to grasp the present status of VOC's pollution by monitoring. A second step to determine the main emission sources of dominant VOC species using monitoring data and air quality model. The final step is to suggest the reduction policies of ozone and PM2.5 using by emission inventory and a chemical transport model. My expectations are such kind of VOC project in city level would be conducted in several cities in EANET region based on the international cooperation. The developed tools and obtained experience and knowledge through the project could be shared in not only city levels, but also all participant countries in EANET. I strongly hope the new project on VOC monitoring in urban area proposed in introduction session will start up successfully. Finally, secondary air pollutants are long-lived in the atmosphere, as mentioned in round 1. They are transported from outer region through urban boundary. For this reason, by combining city-level monitoring with regional scale monitoring network currently established in EANET and satellite observations, as mentioned by Graham-san, the seamless monitoring system between urban, regional, and continental scales will be needed in future. Thank you for attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ohara, for your sharing the importance of city-level cooperation in the VOC and the secondary pollutants. Thank you so much for give us a very good beginning for the second guiding questions. So we are running out of some technical difficulties, so we may not for the moment see the face of Dr. Lee from the video, but I'm not sure if we can still hear from Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. So
I think
please
it's
share
my
your voice.
video has been issued.
Okay, okay. So
I think we're
it's
using this video so long time.
Okay.
So
Okay, so that's why the capacity building technologies are important
so
here.
I just very short mention about the question 2 due to the time issue in the meeting. I think it's the I have a pretty much the same opinion with Dr. Toshimasa. I think it's a city level corporation. All of this air pollutant is measurement. I think that is really good benefit for some of the health effect, because it's the mega city has a lot of the pollutant and the effect to some of the health effect. And then national level, the corporation is I think that is good benefit for long range transportation. For example, its ozone has a little bit longer lifetime can be transportation from the country to the country, so we can figure out which is the pollutant can be long range transportation and affect some of the other country too. So that is kind of really good benefit for this measurement. And also it's the long-term trend for the East Asia and then Asia part. All the VOC and the ozone is the trend. We can figure out what is the trend, and compared to my country to the other countries, the trend we can compare. We can make the right the political plan for the country. Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lee, for keeping your time within 3 minutes. And I thought Dr. Lee shared the transportation sectors. It did make very important contributions for the pollutants in the Asia regions. I thought you share the similar views of our last round commentators. Our colleague from Philippines also shared the concerns for public transportation systems. So we are thinking linking the sectors in city level cooperation is a very good suggestion. Thank you so much. And we'd like to invite Dr. Kao for sharing opinions for the second round question. Please, Dr. Kao.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dao. Actually, because of the time limited, so I just say what is different from the two previous commentators and panelists. First, I agree with the opinion from the first two panelists that what they said, and we think that air quality and air pollution is a regional issue. So the interior is a linkage and the cooperation between the city and national level, and even between countries level, are very important. And actually, there are many pros and advantages of the cooperation. Like in Vietnam now, we have let's say from our national perspective, we have the national air quality monitoring system, and at the same time, we also have the provincial or industrial level air quality monitoring system. And the data sharing and the linkage and the coverage is also it is as a clear advantage that the linkage bring to us. And with our system, we also can have the fair distribution of responsibilities between cities, between province and the national governments also. So that is the advantage that we think the linkage and the cooperation between the city level and national monitoring system can bring. And there are some challenges for us, and I think for other countries, first, we need to have a very synchronized or very convergent performance of the monitoring system. We have the same equipment, so that we can have the data sharing. If we don't have the similar or the equivalent monitoring system or equivalent equipment, we cannot have the data sharing, and we cannot check the accuracy of the data. So that is a challenge, and that also brings a lot of investment cost. So regarding this challenge, we think that the network, the ACAP or the network center now is launching a kind of LCS, the low cost sensor. We think it is a promising solution for some cities and national solution now. And in Vietnam also, we are also thinking we are also developing the transport sector monitoring and the inventory. So that is also similar to what has been said by the two previous panelists. So that is my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kao, for sharing the intercity concerns that for the industry sectors as well as equipment, those kind of key concerns. I thought it may not only for our consideration for the Vietnam participation, but also very referenceable for our other participating countries in EANET. Thank you so much. And we are glad to see that Professor Lee's video is back on board. Thank you so much. And the last panelist, Ms. Dang, please, Ms. Dang, please share your concerns about the second round question within 3 minutes. Ms. Dang, please.
Thank you. Thank you again, Ms. Dong. I think I'll also build on what the previous panelists have shared. And I think I'll focus my points on two areas. One is on improving coherence and improving coordination. Of course, from the international level, national level, and also at the city level, governance for air quality monitoring and management. So I think that improving or filling in the gaps in terms of coherence in implementing policies, regulations, and programs for air quality monitoring would solve or would address a lot of issues, which our previous panelists have already mentioned, such as data sharing, partnerships, collaboration, among others. And I think that having that platform for achieving coherent policies and programs would help us achieve, unified goals, also sustain technical and management capacity building, and as well as ensure that resources are allocated for the implementation of these air quality monitoring initiatives. I think I wanted to quickly share, for example, that when we work with cities in Asia, we always make sure that the action plans and the air quality monitoring roadmaps that we develop are aligned with the national priorities in terms of course, addressing emissions and improving air quality. And at the same time, these are all anchored on regional commitments and international commitments to improve, of course, air pollution or air quality in the countries and cities that we work with. And in parallel with that, of course, we put emphasis on improving coordination and communication among the agencies that work on air pollution and air quality management, because we recognize that this is not just the job or the work of environment ministries or departments, but also other sectors such as industries and transport and energy. And of course, this is in collaboration with sectors such as health, planning, and also the local governments. So with that, I think it's really important that we look at these synergies and how this can be strengthened further by building communities of practice. And I think this is where EANET would really play a great role, supporting communities of practice for air pollution across the region. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Casanova. I heard from my colleagues in the NC that the Clean Air Asia did gathered a lot of experiences in the local city level cooperation. So in the future, they are looking forward to collaborate with Clean Air Asia in the project kind of discussion and design. Thank you so much for sharing again. So we are very glad that we finished the panelist discussion for the second round question. So we are going to start the commentators sharing. Before that, our colleagues from the Secretariat of the NC would like to remind 4 of our panelists, Dr. Ohara, Professor Lee, Dr. Kao, and Ms. Dang. Please take a look at the chat box. We have a super long question from one of our participants for the panelists. I think nobody can answer it in a second. So please just prepare a little bit, and you could answer a certain part after the commentators sharing or the whole one. We'll invite you for sharing valuable opinions after the commentators sharing. Thank you so much. And the next, we will like to invite our seven commentators for sharing opinions in the second round question. Our 7 commentators each will have only 2 minutes. We are apologizing for the inconvenience First, Mr. Mohan, please.
Thank you very much. So I'll be fast about it. So when we look at, basically we know that air quality is actually basically, so when we go to the regional scale of it and the effects on a national scale, you cannot help actually, not considering actually transboundary effects here. And so and especially Malaysia and all, for example, and in actually many Southeast Asian countries, we know this transboundary crossing of pollutants is actually quite insignificant. Now, how to go about this? The EANET already has a platform whereby most of the Southeast Asian countries are already member states of ASEAN. Member states of EANET. Now, so how do we get to it? One of the good things here is that we actually have to actually address this in a bilateral nature. Prior to that, you need actually an accurate database. So that is actually accurate database which the data quality has been established. 1, 2, and what do you call this? A good modeling platform, because only with such data you actually bring this to a discussion at the bilateral level, and therefore after that achieve a sort of a consensus between both the affected partners. Now within a national level, whether it's from the national effect of city or state level to national level pollution. So the same thing occurs here, but only thing here now is that the states or the cities now are taking actually, important responsibilities here. So at the national level, probably some sort of an interstate air pollution rule or law, might be attempted to be established. So whereby among what are the different items of this sort of interstate or intercity pollution law is that, for example, preparation of emission standards, for example, for certain industrial sectors, potential daily emission limits, annual updates of emission budgets, operation of evaluated air pollution modeling platforms, and actually a requirement for each state probably or each city to come up with a state implementation plan. Now, these are all potential ideas, and putting it together with the implementation of, operationalizing low-cost sensor units and even to a certain extent satellite technology. Now, probably some of the countries have already got some part of this working. For example, like Dr. Ohara had mentioned and Dr. Gromov earlier. So EANET having all these people being in this platform and even having the ability to bring in, for example, clean air pollution and all that. So it provides a good room actually to actually look at this and bring this down to a national level. Thank you. That will all be from me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohan, for sharing your thoughts about the platform of modeling. Thank you so much. And we do have future opportunities for discussion as well as in the discussion session. Thank you so much. And Dr. Ngoc, please.
Yes, good afternoon again. So I would be quick because I need to run after my comment. So I think, yeah, we all know that air quality is not only a one city issue, but that means the regional issue that can affect everyone. So I think in this perspective, I would say that international cooperation is very crucial to help our country and also the other country that have like a low capacity. Like in Cambodia, we are really neat in terms of the, I would say, modeling work that we most working on the monitoring. But in terms of the monitoring and modeling is not there. So that is, I think that is one of the big gap that we need international cooperation to build the capacity from the national level to the, I would say, provincial level. And yeah, and also I support the idea from Clean Asia. It's about community practice, but I think maybe we might need more elaboration on how we activate the community practice in the air pollution for all the city. So that's all I would say right now, and I would apologize for quickly because I need to pick up my kids from school, and sorry for that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kok, for your sharing. Thank you so much for keep your comments within the time. And I would like to invite Ms. Witt. Ms. Witt, please.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So as mentioned in the question, international cooperation is critical from national to city level in dealing with the regional air pollutant issue. This critical cooperation is now we are facing. So we need to develop the air quality standard for our country by cooperation with our local government, local organization, and other related partners, and also with our people. So this city level cooperation is very important to develop this this equality standard for our country. So now we are trying to do this. So we need to establish not only the city level monitoring, but also nationwide monitoring system. And also we need to share the data, methodologies, and research technology within EANET members and also other related partners for long-term monitoring and to investigate the transportatory emission. So this is very important for regional cooperation within our members and other related partners. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for your sharing, Ms. Witt. And we would like to invite Mr. Jundy Socorro from Philippines to share your opinions within 2 minutes, please.
Well, international cooperation for national and city levels is very important, especially in our country. We are an island nation. We have 7,641 islands, and we have 1,488 municipalities, 108 component cities, 146 cities, 33 highly urbanized cities. We only have 109 air quality monitoring stations, of which only 25 are in highly urbanized cities. We need cooperation with the cities and municipalities so we could have a proper assessment of the spatial distribution of the cities, and so we could prioritize which are the hotspot areas. Considering the financial cost of air quality monitoring, it's very important that we have a very strong cooperation with these cities, considering, like I said, our geographic characteristic. And it's very important that we have this cooperation, especially in conducting emission inventory. So we could especially identify which one is the hotspot areas, according to stationary source, to mobile source, to area source, if it's according to pollutants, PM10, PM2.5, NOx, SOx, and other air pollutants. And in our experience, that right now we have this airshed system wherein there is a smaller management areas because of the geographic characteristic of our country, and this airshed has governing board composed of small cities. One of the issues that we are encountering here is the continuity because of the elected officials, and sometimes the projects or programs have some issues. But other than that, I think it's very important that there is a strong partnership between national and city levels, especially if there are projects provided by the international community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing these numbers. We could understand the diversification of the city level complexity in Philippines, and also you're sharing the concerns of the hotspot identification, necessity, and urgency. Thank you so much. And next commentator, would like to invite Dr. Glomov for sharing. Dr. Glomov, please, it's your floor.
Okay, that's according to the my previous talk about the national level and city level system in Russia. We think that international cooperation it's very important and very helpful for all of the country, but the application and also the peculiarity of such promotion or cooperation between the country could be different according to the principle of the system in our countries. For example, I think that for improving the international cooperation for the Russia show the first the high level approach of the modification of the and improving of national level and city level in the term of the harmonization of both systems, because for many cases they working independently and practically could not accept the data from each other's using only national regulations or national approach for the evaluation of the data or data obtaining. So in case of the Russia, I suppose that the international cooperation could be very useful, at least for 2 points, by showing or elaborating the set of the pollutant and criteria for atmospheric quality and atmospheric loads for the level of the regional pollution and the level of the cities. To combine and show that how they could affect for each others. And secondly, by introducing the new tools which try to develop the international network for the effect of the urban pollution or megapolis city pollution for the regional level of pollution and even for the load to the environmental impacts. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Glomov, for your sharing. Considering the diversified climate and geographical situation in Russia, that the city level, local level cooperation is now under preparation with the project-based proposals. We're going to discuss the proposals very soon, so please share your opinions with our project list after this session. Thank you so much. And the last commentators, we'd like to invite Dr. Garava from Thailand to share your valuable opinions on the second round question, please.
So thank you. As I said previously for the answer of the guiding question number 1, that the National Air Quality Monitoring Station in Thailand, which increasing year by year, is still in the national levels. So there are 2 main reasons for the gap between the national level to city levels. The first one is the budget problems. Of course, I think that we all know that to measure the air quality is very costly, and the investment cost, the investment cost and the maintenance costs are high. So for the city and for the city levels, they cannot put effort to have the air quality monitoring station. So with this problem, I think that the low-cost sensor may be one of the good solutions to the problem. So therefore, in Thailand nowadays, we have many researchers working on the low-cost sensor as well. I also I am pleased to listen to the presentation of Dr. Hua, that EANET will also emphasize on the low-cost sensor study. And this will be the the great opportunity, the area for the international cooperation. So this is in line with our needs. The second reason is the human resources. From the national to the city levels, we need a lot of capacity building for the air quality monitoring. In the future, when we have at least one air quality monitoring station in every province, we may establish the capacity building program to enhance the human resources in the city. So they can expand expand the air quality monitoring system for manage air quality to solve the air pollution problem in the area by themselves, not only waiting for the solution from the national levels. I am glad again that our need for the capacity building is again in line with the EANET activities. This will be another area for the international cooperation. So in conclusion, the gap between national levels to the city levels can be the area for the international cooperation. And if one country achieves to control their air quality in the country, so this will be co-benefit to the regions as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your sharing. As always, you have to close this discussion with very conclusive suggestions. And I'm happy to see you have shared similar views with last round discussion on the low-cost sensor from the NC's proposal for the next round of the project proposal. So please keep up with the discussion with NC, and we are trying to seek more effective, best available technologies for different meteorological in Thailand and other countries in EANET. Thank you so much. So after our lovely Thailand sharing, we finished the 2 rounds of the getting questions, both including the panelists sharing and commentators sharing. So I would like to ask if there are any quick questions raised from the floor from our panelists and commentators. These questions could be raised for our discussion of the next discussion parts. If there is any question for the discussion parts from the panelists and commentators, please raise your hand. Okay, we didn't see any signs for raising the hands, so we'd like to start from the open discussion. As we have sharing with you in the chat box, for the moment, we gathered 3 questions for the NC and 1 question for the panelist. The 3 questions for the NC, first and the second one, already have been answered in the chat box. The first question is related to the capacity building of emission inventories. It was answered in the chat box earlier, and we will have some project-related activity in this area. The second question is from, we could not see the country, but the name is Ilya Tamat. And the question is about the training seminars for the near future. And the answer has been answered by the NC that we will have individual trainings, and you are welcome to nominate participants from participating countries after COVID. And the third question for NC is a little bit complicated, and it's asked about manual passive methods for the PM 2.5 management recommended by EANET. And the NC will answer this question via email after the session. So the last one for panelists is kind of a long one, and we share this in the chat box. We have 4 panelists here, and we would like to invite panelists to voluntarily raise your hand for answer this long question. And then, if there's still time, we also would like to invite commentators to add points and sharing your views on this question. At the same time, if you have new questions, we altogether have 10 minutes for this open discussion. Please share your question either in the chat box or in Q&A. So now we are starting from panelists for answering these long questions. So I can see Dr. Ohara, Dr. Lee, and Dr. Kao, and Miss Dang. So I could only see actually like Dr. Ohara and Dr. Lee's face for the moment.
Sorry, I can't find questions.
Dr. Kao, is that too long, or you cannot see the question? We can copy the question into the chat box now, once again, for Ohara-san and other participants now. At the same time, I'd like to briefly introduce you. The question is about your thoughts of the monitoring of the nitrogen cycle. This issue related to carbon cycle, ozone formation, PM 2.5 formation, and effects on ecosystem. For example, PM can be collected PM 2.5 and a large particle using the impactor of FP measure. For nitrate diameter, I think maybe it's a diameter. I don't know if it's a misspelling distribution concerning the deposition estimation. Furthermore, deposition and emission between atmosphere and soil also important, and so on. So during the same time of Dr. Ohara thinking, I heard some voice from our colleagues in NC. We'd like to invite Dr. Lee for, we shared the question in the chat box already. So if Dr. Ohara, according to the order, you are still considering the answer, maybe Dr. Lee, Professor Lee, will you please share your answers first? Professor Lee, please.
I'm trying to read the question now.
Right, so sorry, you may start from the first or some part. Sorry, it's too long and very complicated.
I didn't notice this question because I didn't see any questions in the chatting box. So is that I mean, someone, can you answer first during the reading?
Yeah, we could see Mohan share his answer in the chat box for your reviews, and now you could see his reference answers in the chat box for starting your good discussion on the answering of this question. And we also share this in the screen for the question itself. Maybe we can enlarge it's a little bit small. And at the same time, so during Dr. Ohara and Professor Lee considering, so maybe Dr. Kao do you have any thoughts on any of the points of this long question?
Actually, I am still also reviewing this question.
So sorry.
Okay, so but I did because the question appeared in the chat box, and I saw during the the commentator discussion. And I think this is to answer this question is a very big question indeed, because it related to the monitoring of the nitrogen cycle, and it is not that simple. And because it is a biological and chemical process of that nitrogen cycle in the atmosphere and to the soil is very complicated. So of course we think that the monitoring of nitrogen cycle is important. That is just our first question. But how to monitor it and how to get the data and to relate it to the carbon cycle is very complicated. And maybe I think with this time limited and in this platform, we cannot have a very, from my own perspective, we cannot give a very comprehensive answer to this question at this moment.
So thank you so much. So sorry for the long question. I see
I
Professor
agree
Lee,
with
please.
the Kao. The nitrogen cycle monitoring, that is the really complicated we thought. I mean, you have to measure all the nitrogen species. So it is impossible to nitrogen cycle. I mean, that is possible, but it's hard. And also it's a carbon cycle too. And then ozone formation, its most important ozone formation is from the VOC and NOx emissions. So you can measuring the VOC NOx both together. You can calculating the ozone formation. PM2.5 formation. PM.25 formation is more complicated, same as that nitrogen cycle too. And then there's effect ecosystem. I'm sure there is some defect on the ecosystem, but you can measure in the dry deposition, but you cannot size selection for the dry deposition. So you can see the TSP, total particle effect on the ecosystem for the nitrogen input, but you cannot selection in the PM2.5. I mean, you can just collecting the PM2.5 on the filter and the real-time measurement, you can calculating the dry deposition velocity, then how much is the effect to the ecosystem. That is the only way you can do between the relationship between the PM2.5 and the ecosystem. And then another impactor FOP. What is the FOP stand for? I mean, who knows about the FOP? What is the FOP?
Oh, okay. So I just see a raised hand from Dr. Meng, but now the hand disappeared. So I'm not sure. Oh, okay, okay. We see in the chat box there is a new message from Dr. Chu.
Oh,
So,
filter pack. Okay.
mm,
Okay, filter pack.
Dr. Chu may like to share some of the answers from your point of view. Okay, we didn't hear the voices. So I see the raised hand from Dr. Meng. Dr. Meng, please.
Then there is the Hono N205. That is I'm very interesting to measuring, but it's hard. I mean, I'm trying to measuring the H2 N205, but it's really hard. And the Hono is very hard too. It's a very simple chemical composition, but it's very hard. So I think there is no as far as there is no.
Actually, the chemical process of nitrogen and nitrification and denitrification in the atmosphere and finally into the soils, I think it's not that easy to monitor and to measure. So this question is a very good question, but it is not easy and complicated to.
And usually the Hono and the N205 is nighttime chemistry for the nitrate. So you have to know about the daytime chemistry first. Then you have to worry about the nighttime chemistry. So I think that is the second target. You have to be the target first. Yeah. Daytime chemistry for the nitrogen. I think that is all the answer from me.
Dr. Meng is muted.
We see the raised hand from Ohara Sensei. Dr. Ohara, please.
Thank you very much. This question is very big, too big. It is difficult to answer, but the viewpoint of nitrogen cycle is very important for the regional and global environmental issues. Especially the planetary boundary is a very important concern, big concern to the global communities. So in that point, from that point, nitrogen cycle is very important. But maybe for better understanding the nitrogen cycles, not only monitoring, but also modeling is very important. So maybe at the regional scale of our system model, is should be developed in East Asia, maybe. But that is a big, big dream. So very, very difficult to, I think. That's all.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
I think this I'm the what I read, there is the answer from the Dr. Feng Man. I think it's not the question. I think he answered for the question. I just read it. I'm sorry, I just confused about all of this trading.
Thank you so much. There is a suggestion that Dr. Mohan can share his answers combining with the closing remarks. So because of the time running out, so our colleagues would like to appreciate for the session 2, very intensive discussions, the contributions for all the panelists and also the commentators make the session very successful. And at the last, for the question, it is unfortunately we cannot see who raised the question. It is from anonymous participant, but we also appreciate for you enlightening the brainstormings and contribute for the questions as well. So once again, we would like to appreciate all your involvement and your time and valuable points sharing during this session. Thank you very much.